Hello and greetings to you from wherever you are watching me from. In this video, we are going to look at CSS display element, how we can be able to change an element from one display to the other using the display property in CSS. So if you are new on the channel, kindly subscribe to us, like the video, comment, share with your friends so that they can also enjoy the show. Thank you. So we will start by, I have a list of files here that you can see. I have my index and I have my CSS file. This is the HTML and the CSS, and I also have linked my CSS to the HTML file on the line 7, okay, as you are seeing here on the line 7. All right, so what we are coming to do is, let me create a div with a class of box, and then I'll give it a content of I have a display of block by default. Okay, I have a display of block by default, and let's try and use another span tag. Okay, a span tag has a display of inline by default, so I have a display of inline by default. All right, let me also give this one a class of span. Okay, we can simply call it by its tag name, but let's call it by its tag name since that's going to be simple. I don't want to complicate things in this lectures. Okay, so we have two elements here. This is a block level element by default. Okay, box divs are by default a block level element, and span is also by default an inline level element. Now what block level element means is, with block level element, they take the whole width. When the element is sitting on a page, it will make sure that it will never allow any other element to come next to it or be placed in front of it. Okay, for them, they take the full width. And the inline level element, as for that one, they have a width of fit content. They just occupy the width that they contain, like the field, the width they occupy. That is what they take. All right, so if they can take a width of 200 pixels, then they take that one and leave the rest of the page so that other content can also sit there. All right, so let's go to the browser and see some changes or see the code in action. So we refresh and we see this here. We see this is the box, which is I have a display of block by default, and I have a display of inline by default. Let's actually check something here to verify whatever that we are saying here. So I put you put your mouse to this you see this one here. It says select an element in a page, so click on it to activate it. And this is the first one, that is the div, and then the second one, which is the inline. So let's select the div. When you select it, you see that the div is shown here, and it has a display of what? A display of block, telling us that by default divs have a display of block. Let us also go to the span and then select that one. When we select it, we are seeing the span element. There's nothing else that we are seeing here, unlike the div that has a display of block. This one, there's nothing showing here. All right, there's nothing showing here. That's telling us that this particular element is an inline element. Very good, very good. So this is what I will demonstrate here. We can see whatever I'm saying in action by, let's come to our style and select the box and also the span. Okay, let's select the box or the div. You can either the box or the div, everything will work. Okay, and then the span. Now I'm going to give the div a background of blue, and I'll give the span also a background of yellow. So let's go to the browser and refresh. when we refresh, you see that the block level element is taking the full width, but the inline level element is taking the width that is that the content in it occupies. So if the content can occupy more than what we are seeing here, it will take up. So that's why what we are seeing here, the display in the inline is taking just the space the content occupies, and the block level is taking up the whole width. Okay, so the main goal of this is to make sure is to look at how we will be able to change an element from either block level to inline level, or from inline to block. All right, so let's come back to the code editor. The black is not visible, so let me make it something visible. Let me change it to brown. Change this one to back to orange. All right, so that it can be much visible. It can be much visible. Very, very good. So now we see we are coming to look at how we will change this one that has the display of block by default, which is the div. Okay, how we will change it to an inline, and how we will change this inline to a block. So we do that by coming here, and inside the div we say that display. Okay, display, then we give it a value of inline, display of inline, and then the span we give it a display of block. Okay, so now we have swapped it. When we refresh, you see that instead of this one taking the full width, it will now take a width that is equal to the space occupied by its content. So refresh, you see what has happened. All right, so CSS is a very powerful language that is used to manipulate HTML documents. So we have been able to change an element from block to inline. Okay, from block to inline, and also here we've changed an element from the inline to a block level element. Okay, so this is about the display property in CSS, how to change an element from being block to inline and inline to block. This is what we have just demonstrated in this video, but it will work everywhere. So if you are working with an element and you want to change it from block to inline, yes, this is the approach that you have to go. You just simply give it a property, and then you assign the value, either you want it to be inline or you want it to be block. Okay, but one thing about inline level element is sometimes you will want to give margin top and margin bottom to your element, but the problem with inline element is you can't give it a margin top and a margin bottom. There are some properties it cannot be applied to a display to an element that has a display of inline. Okay, so we have made this first element here is it has a display of inline, right? Very good. So look at what I'm going to do now. I am going to give it a margin top of 20 pixels, and look at what happens. Under normal circumstance, a margin top of 20 pixels should add some extra space at the top here. All right, let's refresh and see. Now I have refreshed, but I am not seeing anything happening because it is an inline block. It will not accept or allow us to give it this particular property. If we can change it back to the display block level, and you will see what will happen. You see, as we change it to display block, now our margin top of 20 pixels has been applied successfully. Okay, has been applied successfully. So that's one thing about inline level element. But there are some issues and there are some cases where you will want your element to be inline, but at the same time be able to inherit some of the properties of the display block. If you want your element to be although inline, yet at the same time be able to inherit or contain some of the properties of display block element, then what you have to do is we also have another value called the inline block. Okay, so what the inline block does is, with the inline block it will make the content, it will make the element inline. At the same time, it will make it available for all the styling that can be done or that can be applied to display block elements. All right, so now that we have applied the inline block, let's go back and see what will happen. We refresh and you see it has been applied. Okay, now it has been applied. Let's change it back to the inline. We change it back to the inline and we see it's not working. We change it to inline block and we see that it's working. All right, so that's all about the display. We have other display elements like the flex box, and we have like the flex box, and we also have the display grid. But the display grid and the display flex boxes, as for that one, is an advanced topic. It's a topic that I will come and teach them separately, because that's where we build responsive website with. Okay, we build a responsive website with the display grid and then the display flex. But for the meantime, I want us to have a gist, have something small about the display element, how we can work around them. Okay, there's other thing to look at. Okay, so let's create another element of p element and call it I'm the last paragraph. Okay, I'm the last paragraph, and the last paragraph is displayed here. We know that p element is a display block by default, so you can come here, select this one, put it here, and you see the p has a display of what? Block by default. Even though we have not selected the p and applied the display block to it, but by default this is what the p has. It contains the display block as part of its CSS styling. So every p element is what? It's a block level element. Okay, one thing about the display is we can use the display to hide content on the screen. So for instance, I am coming to hide this I am last paragraph that you are seeing here on the screen using CSS. So first thing that I need to do is I need to first select my p. Okay, select my p. It is very bad. It is very bad way to select element by its tag name, like what I'm doing in this video. As for me, you see I have few content, they are not many, that's why I'm going by the tag names. Okay, but if you have so many content, so many elements on your HTML, it is very good to give them classes. Okay, you give them class name or IDs, and then you style them according to their IDs or their classes. But as for me now, what I have here is just a few content, so I think it's okay for me to call them by their tag names. And besides, all the tags that I have here are different. Div is different from span, and span 2 is different from p. All right, so let's move on. I come here and I specify display and I set it to none. When I set display to none, watch what happens. Now this is here, I refresh and it's gone. Okay, we can see that it's gone. Let us come to the inspection, select here, and you see that I am the last paragraph is there. Okay, it's part of our element. The browser has picked it, but still it's not being shown. Okay, why it's not being shown is because of the display none. Okay, if you set it to display none, it will not show at all. You will just hide it. So you can also make it block to bring it back. Okay, we set it to block and it will come back. That's something about the display none property. We also have other one that I want to show you. Okay, we have visibility, and we set the visibility to hidden. And what the visibility hidden does is, okay, let's comment this one out. What the visibility hidden does is it will hide the element. Okay, it will hide the element from the browser. But as for visibility, even though it hides the element, but the space occupied by the element will still be there. Okay, the space that the element occupies will still be there. But as for display none, it will just hide the element, take it away from its existence. Okay, so if for instance our element is taking a width of 200 pixels and a height of 200 pixels, when we set the display to none, it will hide the element together with the height and the width that it was taking. But when we set the visibility to hidden instead, what is going to happen is our element will not be shown on the screen. Okay, the element will not be shown, but the height and the width occupied by the element will still be there, so that if another element is coming, you'll see that, oh, someone is occupying this space. So let me come to the next line, because at the top a man is there. Even though you will not see it, but its existence will still be there. All right, so that's it. That's something small about the visibility. You can, as for visibility, you set it to hidden or visible. When it's visible, it will be shown. When you set it to hidden, just as we did it earlier on, it will be off. All right, it will be off. So that's something small that I want you to take a look at in this video. So this is something small that I want to share with you in this lecture, and we will meet in the next lecture. But I will ask you to kindly subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. Try and give us your comment. Let us know how you feel about this lecture, and if also I made a mistake, I will be glad for you to point it out to me, because we are also and always learning. Thank you so much, and see you in the next lecture.